So what are you thinking right now? How about your feelings? What are you feeling in this moment? Now, which one do you think drives your behavior? Your thoughts or your feelings? Well, I guess like most people, you would say, oh, it's my thoughts. Of course, my thoughts drive everything. Well, I'm here to lovingly confront you and say, no, that's not true. Modern neuroscience now shows it's our feelings that drive our thoughts and therefore our behaviors. And if your life isn't where you want it, it's because you've been following the old paradigm, the wrong paradigm. And that if you want to succeed in life, if you want to reach your goals and achieve living in the greatest version of yourself, what we need is to develop emotional mastery. Welcome back to the Heal the Herd podcast. That's what we're going to tackle today. The old paradigm that it's our thoughts that drive everything. Because isn't that what we've been told for centuries? That it's our intellect and emotions are bad. Don't have emotions, don't talk about them, don't deal with them. And if they ever come up, the emotions are the death of our intellect. And the problem in society is all these emotional people. Well, do you hear what happens when somebody says all that? They're very elevated emotionally. So what does that tell you right there? Their emotion about the situation is driving their intellect and their behavior. Now I'm going to give you the science behind it, because just pointing out how obvious it is isn't enough. People need to know. Now, the first thing you're going to have to recognize is as I tell you about all this stuff, you're going to have some feelings. Most of those feelings are going to be negative. For some of you, you're going to be like, no, he's wrong. It's not our feelings, it's our thoughts. You're going to get defensive, angry. You're going to want to shut down and push it away. You're going to have severe feelings about this new information. That's normal. And here's why. This is the first thing to recognize and why we now know that it's our feelings that drive everything we do, not our thoughts. The way we process information, did you know that everything you touch, smell, see, hear, or taste, all incoming information comes to your thalamus, the emotional center of your brain, your amygdala, all these different pieces, which I'm going to stay out of, okay? So as you're listening to me, all the information that's coming into you is hitting the emotional center of your brain. And from there, it's bouncing off of different aspects of that emotional center, and it's looking for past emotional experiences to catalog, all right? What was my first experience with experiencing I might be wrong, that I might have made a mistake? Childhood, right? Think of it as a child. You're an infant. You're about to crawl down the stairs. You're 2 years old. Mom, dad, no. Boom. Your first sense was fear. I heard this shrieking voice. I felt these hands grab me and pull me back. Oh my God, sheer terror. Now you don't remember that. You were 2 years old and just a child, or a year old and crawling. But that's what your brain is seeking. And so the rejection of new information is that feeling that you're experiencing. And so the thought of being wrong, then later, older, you get into, school and having the wrong answer, playing sports and making a mistake. We've cataloged all of thousands and thousands of life experiences where we made mistakes, where we didn't have the answer, the right information. And that's generated this enormous feeling of, I can't be wrong. It's a total crushing of the soul that I am somehow weak, invalid. There's shame in it. There's guilt in it. There's these overwhelming, catastrophic feelings. And so that's why this is why it's so hard for humans to change. It's because that cataloging of thousands of negative emotional experiences hits us before we ever can think about it and even consider the new information. So you look at all the political strife in the world, all the social strife in the world. What you're seeing is both sides refusing to hear anybody's information. Because why? They have decades, depending on their age, decades and decades of negative experiences with so-called being wrong. They are all reacting emotionally before they can ever get to intellect. So do you see, if you want to improve your intellect and your response, you need to improve your emotional capabilities, your emotional mastery. Emotions assist greatly in our ability to reason. They don't disturb it. They never disturb our reasoning and our logic and our thought process unless the emotional capabilities are defective or dysfunctional. And when do they become defective or dysfunctional? Either through injury or in childhood. All right? Now, what also, another aspect he discovered is what happens milliseconds before a behavior is produced by the nervous system. What in that moment, before the behavior, the nervous system, which is run by the emotions and primarily the emotions that have been placed into our subconscious in our childhood, those influences come up and influence our thoughts and our behaviors. Okay? You can't separate it. So, now can you see when I talk about in videos, Joe Dispenza brought this up, that neuroscience shows us 95% of our life we are reliving our subconscious. We are stuck. You think you're 30 years old, you're 60 years old, and you think you're making a decision in this moment, like I just proved it to you. My animation was from what? Childhood. From being told, I look at the world incorrectly. And so when you see me get excited in my videos, how old am I in that moment? I'm an infant. Or, I don't know, at least somewhere under 10 years old. I'm not adult in that moment. There are aspects, but the emotion of it is primitive. And it's true for you too. Now, instead of just saying that to you, I want to give you the process. We're going to start moving into the solution so you can start becoming an emotional mastery expert and develop the skills and tools that you deserve to conquer this. Now, the first thing we have to do is, again, work on that messaging that there's something, you can't be wrong. Like I know how it works. I have to prove it emotionally to you before you'll accept it logically. So I'm going to give you a process that's an emotional process that will help you bridge that gap so you can grasp it emotionally, which will then allow you to grasp it intellectually, which will then allow you to change your behavior. All right? Remember my initial question, what are you thinking, what are you feeling? Well, let's just deal with one part of that. What are you feeling right now? Pause and contemplate, what are you feeling? If you don't know, 70% of the population doesn't feel. They'll say good, fine, it's not a feeling. Are you feeling sad, angry, scared, frustrated, maybe pissed off at me, or bored by me, or it could be tons of different feelings. If you don't know, go to Google right now. Actually, better off, go to my website, www.thegreatnessuniversity.com. Go to the free content section, scroll down, and there's a feelings wheel right there. Download it. Look at the feelings wheel. What are you feeling in this moment? Let's say you were frustrated. Okay? Or let's say you're perplexed or a little uneasy. Maybe that's it. Since this is all new information, maybe it's skeptical. That's a good one. Skeptical. Not quite sure if what I'm saying is right. Okay, let's go with that one. So you're skeptical. Now, where in your body do you feel that skepticism? Stomach? Chest? Throat? Head? Shoulders? What is it? Focus on it. Focus on the feeling. Focus on, I'm just going to assume it's in your chest. All right? You can feel that in your chest, or most likely you feel it in your stomach. All right? So really focus in. Like, use every energy you can to bring that feeling of skepticism as high as possible. Like on a scale of 0 to 10, get it to a 10. Now, what's your most recent memory of feeling skeptical? Something in yesterday, a week ago, a month ago? Was it at work? Was it a friend? Was it a colleague? Was it something you saw on the internet, a news show? What's your most recent memory of feeling skeptical? Do you remember it? Okay. Now, let's say you found something in the last week. What's the next memory? Say a year ago. Contemplate that. Was it a fight with somebody? Didn't think somebody was telling the truth? Write it down. Like write these down. What was your most recent skepticism? Now a year ago. Now 5 years ago, what pops up? Were you married to somebody different? Is that when you went through a divorce? Write it down. 10 years ago. 20 years ago. Keep going back and back and back and back and back till you get to your first memory of being skeptical. Are you one of the very few rare people who can remember at age 2 or 3? Were you 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 years old? Is that your first memory? Now, what happened in that moment? Was that the first time you saw your parents lie? Was that the first time your brother or sister lied to you about something? What in your life did you find out was different than you originally thought it to be? What life experience happened? And now you're hit. It's like, like now it's big. Oh my God, that's the day I discovered the truth. Like for me, my skepticism was born when I just, middle of the night, 10 years old, woke up to use the bathroom. Middle of the night, open up the door, boom, there's my mom, passed out naked on the toilet. It's the day I discovered she was an alcoholic. Skepticism. How could I trust anything after that? I thought I'd lived in this one world. Now I see there's this world. And as I talk to my dad on the couch and I'm bawling and I'm going, Dad, how long has this been going on? And he goes, Kenny, it's been going on for years. My whole world, my whole understanding of my childhood changed in that moment. I was overrun with incredible feelings, one of sheer guilt and shame. As I said to my dad, my response was, you're kidding me. This has happened to me one time, and I'm feeling like this, and you've been dealing with this for years? I felt so small, so insignificant, that I'm this upset, bawling my eyes out. Now, do you see there? There's the child blaming myself. It's what we do. I immediately took blame because I was too young emotionally to use intellect. And this is what happens to all of us. Our intellect is imprinted and influenced by our childhood emotional experiences. Your intellect is deficient or sabotaging you because you've been through trauma that's never been addressed. And therefore you get skewed intellect because that's what happens in a traumatic moment. Especially as we age, we put a story to it, yet we're underdeveloped intellectually. And so our story is immature and improper. The story and definition I placed on my dad sharing with me that this has been going on for years was, oh my God, look how selfish and wrong I am. It's not true. How would I know? I'm not to blame. But that's what a child does. And that's the intellect that we then use to pick a partner. Or to pick a job, or friends. Now, do you see what else I just proved to you? I just proved to you, though, everything that's in my book and everything I teach. My book, Your Journey to Success. What I just laid out for you is what I call the worst day cycle. This proves that 95% of your life, you are living in your subconscious because I just had you catalog how you have repeated the exact same pain and trauma from your childhood over and over and over and over. You have re-victimized yourself repeatedly. We all do. Why? Because everyone's teaching intellect, not emotion. So we're replaying that emotional pain against ourselves all of our life. No thought process can heal that. That's not where the solution is. The solution is in the pain of those moments, of feeling that and reorienting the pain. Becoming the mother and father for ourselves that we didn't have in those moments. Not always because our parents are bad people, but because they're perfectly imperfect and they're human. They're doing the best they can. But if we want to have the best intellect, we need to have the best emotional intellect, not thought. So, if you'd like to start that journey, I work with people individually. I have private groups. I have classes. All of that is paid. I don't want to make this a sales pitch. But if you're willing to invest a little bit of money in yourself, get some books. if you want to learn how and convince yourself, pick up this. Antonio Damasio's The Feeling of What Happens. I will warn you, he is highly intellectual. You will need a thesaurus and a dictionary to read this. This ain't easy reading. This man is, incredibly smart and gifted, and that's why he's at the head of neuroscience in this field. All right, and discovered so many things. So if you like a challenging read, this one's for you. All right. Now, the next book is by Candace Pert, Molecules of Emotion. This will help you dive even deeper into how our emotions run virtually every aspect of our life. Finally, Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score. This will help you see how the traumatic moments we experience get stuck in our body. This is what causes illness and disease. And this is why pandemics and everything need to be looking at the emotional disturbances we experience throughout our life, because they play out physically in our health in every aspect. And there are a lot of exercises in here to help you heal and turn around your emotions. And finally, my book, Your Journey to Success. I lay out the whole worst day cycle for you. Also, the beginnings of how to recover from all of these things, because remember, we need to reorient the subconscious and the emotional experiences we had. When we do that, then our thoughts and stories about it change, then our behaviors change. That's the process out of this. Again, please go to my website, www.thegreatnessuniversity.com. That is your source for everything free. It has tons of videos, tons of articles, free downloads, exercises that'll walk you through the recovery process. Doesn't cost a thing. If you decide you want to take it deeper and learn about my private groups, learn about my master classes or one-on-one coaching, you can find the information there as well. So if you know somebody who's stuck on the old paradigm of trying to change their thoughts, and you'd like to help them bridge that gap and start achieving the results they want and learn emotional mastery so they can change their thoughts and their feelings and their behaviors, please share it. Leave me your comments, and as always, enjoy the journey.